Hello, this is an interesting video today. I'm talking with Julie Creffield, who is the author, entrepreneur, and general genius behind the Fat Girl's Guide to Running. It started off as, didn't it? And then, is it sort of, what's your full name now for the company?
I guess I look at it more of a campaign.
Yeah.
So I look at it as
Yeah.
the Too Fat to Run campaign. So I still write the blog, and the blog is still called The Fat Girl's Guide to Running, but the website is called itself is called Too Fat to Run.
Yeah. Okay. And for the people who, obviously from a Man v Fat point of view, we've joined a couple of your virtual runs before, and I've done them personally quite a few times. But the campaign that you're doing is to try and get 1 million. You quite openly refer to them as fat women or overweight women running.
Yeah, that's right. And I guess it's because I started off running as an overweight lady and felt like there was nothing out there really for me. I was quite scared about going to running clubs, being the only fat person there. So I was like, well, look, let's just be explicit about it. Let's have a race or a run that's just for fat people.
Yeah.
And actually the concept, people really get behind it and kind of understand what it is and say, yeah, I'll have a bit of that. And that's kind of where it's grown from, really.
Is it the sort of, I'm getting a bit of feedback on my end in terms of the sound and things, but hopefully you can hear me all right. But do you find that, what's the sort of reaction been to it? How long have you been doing it?
So I've been writing the blog for about 4 years. The campaigning stuff probably for about 1.5 years. And I've grown in confidence.
Excuse me.
You know, in terms of referring to the blog, and I mean, I used to say it and kind of squirm a little bit, but now I'm much more kind of confident. And actually, the more confident I am, the less offended other people are because they see where it's coming from.
Yeah.
And it's funny, the people that tend to be offended by it are really slim people that have never been overweight, and they just like, you can't call it that. You know,
No.
it's weird that overweight people laugh and say, yeah, I get it. You know, you are being explicit and we understand who it's for and it's really kind of clear. Yeah, so I've had nothing but kind of support, really, particularly from, you know, the plus size overweight community.
It's interesting because we had a similar sort of reaction when I was sort of saying the organisation is Man v Fat. People say, I mean, often people within weight management teams and groups will say, well, you know, fat is a very, it's a difficult word to use. It's the sort of thing where people have a negative reaction to it. And I've never found that at all. I find that the people who we talk to through Man v Fat, I mean, they're not idiots. They're some very intelligent people, and it's almost like they're sort of thinking that because you're overweight, you're a moron, and you should be sort of, no, say overweight or obese, or, you know, do it on a BMI category.
Yeah. My problem is when you say obese, fat people go, well, that's not me.
No, exactly.
It's a medical term, and we don't walk around going, oh, you're a bit obese. You know, we say, oh, you put a bit of weight on, get a bit fat. You know, and that's how we speak to each other. But you're right, some people do feel quite hurt by the word fat, especially if they've had a lot of negative experiences around being called fat at school and things like that. So it's not that I am being completely naive to the fact that it is still quite hurtful for a lot of people. So it's not that I go around calling other people fat. That's not kind of what I'm about. It's about me self-defining and being quite happy with it, because I see it as a descriptor, not as an insult.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, I was thinking the other day, when is the first time that you learn that fat is a bad word? It's when you're really small and you go, mummy, that person's fat. And mum says, don't say that, that's not nice. You know, but actually you should say, well, yes, they are fat and that's okay because we're all different, you know, and so it starts so early that we realise that fat is an insult, you know, in the playground.
But it's when you have that situation where fat is it's a pejorative term, isn't it? It's actually the qualifier to something else as well. It's not saying that this person is medically overweight or they exist at a certain range on the BMI scale. It's actually saying that person is overweight and therefore, you know, stupid, lazy, ignorant, all of those things that are bound up in the word. But I mean, it's a difficult one, but I almost feel like it's one of those things where you need to reclaim it from being that sort of pejorative term and say, you know, it means I am overweight, and I acknowledge that, and I understand biologically what fat is, and I know, you know, and therefore I can do something about it, and not to give in to the sort of the hoodoo around it in some ways. We were talking about what we were going to talk about today, weren't we? And we were saying that one of the interesting things is that we both have partners, and we were talking about how many people who are overweight or obese, their partners are in a similar situation. And when people come to Man v Fat, or people come to Too Fat to Run, they are owning that, and they are taking action and doing something about it. But doesn't necessarily follow that their partner is as well. And we were going to talk about how do you communicate that in a way that is actually effective. So, I mean, the subtitle of all that is how do you nag your partner thin, I guess. But
yeah. And it's interesting because I've never had an overweight partner, so
right.
it's really difficult. I mean,
excuse me.
personally, my partner is in tip-top shape, despite the fact he does no exercise and eats really bad. You know, he's got a great physique. He's very slender. Knows nothing about nutrition. So when I kind of harp on about stuff, he's like, oh, I'm all right, you know, sitting there eating his packet of biscuits and, you know, kind of frying everything. So it's really difficult for me to have kind of sensible conversations with him because he is just in a different place to what I am.
Yeah.
But I think that's the case regardless of what weight you're at. And I'm you know, really interested to know what your thoughts on this are. But I think men and women do approach weight and weight loss in completely different ways, and their understanding is completely different.
Yeah.
You know, and partly that is because that there hasn't been the materials specifically directed towards men, you know, which is kind of what your thing's all about.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was definitely my experience of it. And interestingly, my weight loss began when probably about 2 or 3 years ago, my wife lost an awful lot of weight, and she did Slimming World and started running, at at an obese level, and sort of, you know, really fell in love with running and found that was hugely helpful in losing weight. But it was very interesting because I was much bigger than she was, and stayed very big while she got down to her goal while I was still absolutely at my heaviest. And it's a really fascinating thing because she said subsequently that she wanted to say something, but she just didn't know how. I mean, and we're sort of, I would say, fairly able communicators. It's not that we sort of, you know, just say ugh and bash each other with rocks or anything. You know, she is very capable of talking on all those things, but she just didn't know how to say it in a way that was effective or that would, you know, actually have the desired intent.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely right, by the way. I mean, there have been no materials directed at men previously, and that's one of the things that I'm fundamentally trying to change is that there needs to be a platform for that discussion to happen, and there needs to be resources that are suitable for men, because we do things in such different ways, and you're absolutely right. It's fascinating, isn't it? Because just because Emma was losing weight on Slimming World and running doesn't mean that would have been suitable for me. And you know, just as you're saying about with your partner, he goes about things in such a different way that how do you actually communicate not only your desire for them to change in a positive and healthy way, because you love them, but also how do you translate that desire into, you know, actionable things that they can take away. I mean, have you had this circumstance before where you've had Too Fat to Run women saying, I wish my partner would sort himself out as well?
Yeah, I have, and the women tell me that they either do things covertly as such, kind of changing the diet secretly bit by bit, or the other thing that happens is that women, you know, start to enjoy running, start to lose a bit of weight, and then the other half starts to get a little bit jealous, starts to kind of put barriers in their way, particularly if they've got kids, you know, so it becomes all about childcare. So you get a lot of, I couldn't get my run in today because he wouldn't have the kids. And when you kind of drill down why wouldn't he have the kids, you know, it's for no reason whatsoever, and normally he would have the kids, but he's got something against me going out running. So I think there's this stuff about, maybe it's about weight loss and looking more attractive, and there might be like a jealousy thing in there, you know, about kind of losing your partner, but it might also be because they're stuck in a rut and they don't know how to get out of that kind of health thing.
Yeah.
And you know, I guess what women find from my website, particularly I do online challenges where we have kind of these closed Facebook groups, is that the women feel so supported and that they can come on and just be really honest about whether they've had a binge or whether they've not done any exercise for a week, you know, and they feel so supported. And I guess their other half doesn't have that support network. And women generally have better support networks and can be more honest with each other and have those conversations about calories and weight loss and binging and all of that kind of stuff.
I agree completely. But I think that men do have those support networks. It's just that they function in such a different way. So I think that a group of women might well get together and say, look, you know, this is a project that we're all interested in doing. It's something that we can all help each other to do. They can do that straight from the off. They don't need anything to facilitate that feeling, that sense of shared journey and that sense of let's do this together. Whereas men, I think, come to things and often, if it's phrased in the terms of a competition, that, or you know, fun or laughter or banter and those sorts of, you know, approaches, they are hugely supportive of each other, just in a very male way. So they will, you know, joke about each other and they will laugh about each other, but it will be with the intent of supporting someone, and it will be sort of saying to you, look, I know what you're going through, this is awful. And actually, you know, what I've found from doing Man v Fat is that the emotional intelligence of men is vastly underrepresented and underestimated in terms of the mainstream media. And so you have this perception that you know, the men that you get from the media, from TV, are lager swilling idiots, barely capable of you know, wiping their own noses. And it's just not true. They are very emotionally literate people, but often those discussions don't take place. So, you know, that sort of discussion you don't hear about. But I think I was trying to work out what is a practical suggestion and something to take away. And I think for a woman who is starting on a health and fitness journey and really wants to encourage her partner, because I think you're right, that it can go one of two ways, can't it, at that point where people say, you know, she's going off and doing something that I'm a bit jealous about. Why is she changing? What's going on? And there's that sort of nervousness. And I think that you know, that's fundamentally from a difficult relationship, because, you know, hopefully you would support your partner in what they're doing, and that would be what you would want. But I think one way to engage men is to bring in that sense of competition. You don't necessarily have to say, right, okay, I've signed you up for the London Marathon or anything like that. But it's more about saying, you know, can you do this? You know, I know that, you know, can you do a pull-up? Can you do these sorts, you know, anything along those lines, something that he's interested in. And I know that is, it's kryptonite to man, you know, not being able to rise to that challenge is very difficult. So,
because I've been doing a lot of reading about kind of the differences between men and women, and kind of somebody said that men just want to win. You know, so to make their woman happy, all you have to do is give them the chance to win. You know, and to be your hero. And actually, I guess that's right. But what's interesting is women tell me they don't necessarily want that competitive side to weight loss and to fitness, particularly running. And it's the reason why in January I'm launching something called the Clubhouse, which can be a virtual running club for women, because women tell me when they go to their local club, running club, it's all about how fast can you run, how far do you run, how often do you run. It's all about competition, and they can't compete. You know, if you've got challenging priorities at home, you've got childcare issues, you can't get out 3 times a week, or, you know, just once a week is enough for you, and you don't want to focus on speed. So I mean, when I've been training for the marathon, and my partners, I said, you know, come and support and help me. He's kind of jumped on the bike and kind of gone on a long run or whatever. He's always been like, faster, you know, come on. And I'm like, I've got another 16 miles to go, give me a break. Do you know what I mean? And it's just like his way of thinking about how you train. Like, I've been trying to get under 30 minutes for a 5K for the last year. And he's just like, just run faster. Just run faster. All you need to do is just run faster, you know.
Yeah, it's simple.
Yeah, really, really. And what's really funny is he keeps saying, I keep saying, "Oh, come to park run. It'd be really good for us to do it as a family." And he uses lots of excuses for why he doesn't want to do it, you know. But he said to me the other day, "Oh, I think I'm going to start running in the new year." And I was like, "What?" You know, because he's got no interest in exercise other than pumping iron. You know, he's got some weights and stuff, but he does no cardio at all. It'll be interesting if we do go to park run, because I know A, he'll be faster than me, and B, he will be like, "Come on, come on, come on," you know. But that's his way of showing me support, is that kind of competitive nature. Come on, you can be faster, you can be. When actually, what I want is him just to say, "Well done, love, you're doing good."
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's emotionally how we kind of both respond is quite different.
Yeah. Give us an insight on this one then. If it's a Man v Fat reader who is looking to lose weight, and that they are sort of, you know, on that journey, and they are excited about where they are going.
Yeah.
And they have a partner. I mean, we did something called the Big Fat Survey, where we asked thousands of men what their, you know, all about their experiences of being overweight, why they were overweight, what they're doing about it, all of those things. And there was a really interesting statistic in there, because we said who supports you and who doesn't support you on your weight loss. And it was by far the biggest answer was everyone supports me, which is great. So the majority feel like, but it was still only about 56%, I think, that felt that they were supported by everyone.
Right.
And around about 13% felt that their partner didn't support them.
Right.
Now, what should they do if they want their wife, their girlfriend, to join them on that journey? How should they explain that to a woman?
I think you have to be really explicit, and this is on both sides, because I say to my other half, "Oh, I really need your help, I really need your support." That doesn't mean anything to him. I have to tell him, "Right, on a Saturday morning you have to have Rose so that I can go to park run." You know, so I think you have to be really explicit about what support you do. So I have to say to him, if I have a biscuit, please don't say you shouldn't be having a biscuit, you're on a diet, because that isn't helpful for me. So I think you have to be really spell it out in terms of what support looks like. Because I think we are on different pages, and what you think is supportive is possibly the absolute opposite to what your partner needs, because we are so different. So I think it's having a conversation about it, you know, and setting out not rules but just some guidelines.
I think that's a fantastic bit of advice, you know, and it is so true. I could, as you say it, I can hear myself going, yeah, if Emma came to me and said, you know, look, I'm trying to do this, and shared a dream or a hope, I'd think, yeah, great, fantastic, love it, but then I wouldn't know what to do, you know, how to actually enact that, and how to support it. And as you say, you know, often men just really they want to help, they want to, you know, be there for the partner, but we might not necessarily understand what that looks like, or how to do it.
I mean, every time I sign up for a marathon, my other half kind of rolls his eyes. He now understands what it actually means, particularly now we've got a daughter, you know. So my long Sunday run takes nearly all day, because I am quite a slow runner. So if I need to cover 15 miles, I'm gone for the day. You know, but when I first started doing that, he'd phone me up thinking something's wrong. Like, "Where are you? What's happened?" Because he didn't understand what that looked like. Whereas now he does understand that.
I think the other thing as well is that from both sides, it is that sense of actually explaining to your partner why this matters to you. Because I think that it's so obvious to us, if you're losing weight, if you're wanting to run a marathon, if you're engaging in any of those challenges, it's so apparent to us in our hearts that we actually say, look, you know, this matters to me, this is what I am about, this is what's going to drive me for the next, you know, X amount of time. But unless you actually explain that and say that, and I think this is something where it is true about men, that they wouldn't necessarily think to sort of, or maybe they would struggle a bit more than women to actually say that to their partner. I think that is a really good way of actually engaging your partner in it, and actually saying, look, you know, this is important to me, this is why it's important to me, and this is what I hope to get when I've achieved it.
But also including, you know, it's important to me, and if I'm happy, this is what this means for us.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because I'm a happier person, I nag less, I moan less. Do you know what I mean? When I've been out for a run, I just am a much happier person to be around. So now that my partner understands that, he's less likely to moan about me going out for a run, because he knows in the long run it's going to make us both happier.
Yeah, but then I think that is a good way of engaging your partner in what their health goals are. Is actually saying, look, you know, this is what it does for me, and this is why it's important for me. But actually, what I find is that, you know, by talking about those ideals, they then start thinking about their own hopes and their own aims and their own ambitions, and that can be hugely inspirational. That is a much better way of inspiring someone than actually saying you're putting on a bit of weight, aren't you? Which obviously should never be done.
You know what? I think at the heart of it, it's all fear. I think weight loss is often about fear. Fear that you're going to fail. Fear that all of these things. And I know my partner probably fears going to Park Run because he doesn't know what it contains. And the first time I went to Park Run, I was really worried. So I think there are things that you can do to make that fear less. So come along and be a spectator. I think once you spectate something, you kind of work out what it's all about, and then you go, can I do that? And then next time, can you come and volunteer? They're short, or so there are kind of quite subtle ways that you can involve your partner in what you're doing without making them go full blast into coming on a run with you.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? And that's what I'm hoping, fingers crossed, come the new year, he will want to do that, because I think it will make our family life a little bit easier if we do things together, because at the moment he doesn't do much running stuff with me, and so it means we're kind of just living separate lives in some respects when I'm training.
One of the things that we've had, obviously the Man v Fat book is out after Christmas on January the 1st, and one of the conversations that I've had often with women is, oh, that's fantastic, I'm going to get that for my husband. And I'm starting to wonder how many arguments we're going to be responsible for. So across the land, as people open their late Christmas presents and go, oh, a book about losing weight, thanks very much. But that's one thing that I just wanted to finish on, maybe, is what are the ways that you shouldn't approach talking to your partner about this? What are the absolute no-nos?
I think giving ultimatums. I think that's just, no one wins. We all just want, basically in life, we just want to win, don't we? We just want to be happy and we want to win. So providing those win-win situations. And when you give somebody an ultimatum, it's quite likely it's all going to go a bit wrong. Do you know what I mean? So and setting timelines and things like that. People have to do it, A, when they want to do it, and B, at a pace that's right for them.
I agree. To that, I would also add, I think it's worth saying that, although men often approach things in a humorous way, man to man, that women might not appreciate the humour of don't sweat much for a fat lass sort of comments, those sorts of things, which for a man to a man might be like, well, I was just making a point, or trying to say something, but it might not be as useful.
Humour from a man about weight just doesn't work in any way, shape or form, actually.
So true.
And the thing is, even women don't even really joke that much about their weight. Do you know what I mean? I don't think they do, really. I mean, you've got to be really close to another female to be able to joke with them about their weight. Because you might laugh, and then for the next week you're thinking about it and thinking, oh, bitch. Do you know, she just mentioned that I've put on it half a pound or whatever. Do you know what I mean? So I don't think women enjoy that kind of banter. With they can make jokes about themselves. I think that's what most women do. They make those jokes, but I don't think there is that banter like what men have.
Excellent. All right, well, Julie, it's been a real pleasure talking to you. I think we're both going to share this on the respective YouTube channels. We'll put subscription links in there as well to different to each of the channels. For my part, I will say that you very kindly agreed to share an exclusive discount with your readers and your runners. Which, so if they do feel that they want to get their husband a copy of the Man v Fat Weight Loss Manual, then they can do for a reduced amount. And very best of luck with the campaign in 2015. I know you've got some amazing stuff coming up. I'm really excited about the clubhouse for you as well, and I'm sure we'll talk more.
Brilliant. Thanks a lot, Andrew.
Take care. Cheers.
Cheers.